Before this video begins, I would just like to thank my Asbantium level patron, Fowlon Cortez. Thank you for supporting the channel. Love and Monsters, perhaps one of Doctor Who's most infamous episodes. Ask any Doctor Who fan for their favourite episode and you can almost guarantee this one won't be on there. I would say it's a safer bet than Tottenham Hotspur not winning a trophy, but yeah, I can't really make those jokes anymore. Thanks, United. Great job. Very cool. Anyway, Love and Monsters is very infamous, especially for its very questionable implication of a man having sexual relations with a woman trapped inside a paving slab.
We've even got a bit of a love life.
Oh, let's not go into that.
I mean, consent questions aside, how would that even work physically? It doesn't make any sense. Unless she's bigger on the inside. Despite the reputation, I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for the episode because I do see what it tries to do with its commentary on fan bases, their sense of community, and inevitably their toxicity. It's a parable about Doctor Who's own future in the now internet age. But recently, when I was making my video all about deleted scenes, I stumbled upon two from Love and Monsters, which kind of changed everything about the episode. Because these scenes led me to believe that Elton Pope was a liar. Okay, so for context that you probably don't need, Love and Monsters is an episode told entirely from the perspective of Elton Pope, a regular everyday normal guy who finds himself pulled into the world of the Doctor because of the constant alien incursions and invasions. Elton is desperate to find the mysterious Doctor and teams up with others to form Linda, an investigative clubhouse of sorts, which soon gets taken over by Victor Kennedy. An evil alien in disguise who absorbs everyone but Elton, who himself is only saved when the Doctor and Rose turn up to stop the Absorbalorth in all his thick green glory. It's very much a bittersweet tale, especially with the revelation that Elton's first ever encounter with the Doctor was on the night his mother died, a memory he buried out of trauma, but an encounter that set him on this entire journey to begin with. And that's the story of Love and Monsters, or at least the story it claims to tell us. Because as I mentioned, those deleted scenes might paint an entirely different story. Love and Monsters is formatted like a vlog of sorts, Elton recounting the story from his bedroom. At the beginning, when he's introducing himself, he makes a joke about not being confused with Elton John. Originally, he explains that Daniel was his mother's favourite song, only for an off-screen voice to suddenly chime in.
Elton, I'm going to the shops.
I'm busy, thank you.
Anything you need?
Then, at the end of the episode, when Elton remembers the death of his mother, the same voice chimes in yet again.
Elton, make sandwiches.
Sit down, lady.
What gets me about this scene is Elton's explanation of this being his landlady, which doesn't make too much sense to me. What landlady makes sandwiches for a tenant? And why does Elton lower his voice when he explains her being the landlady, as if he doesn't want her to hear it? And what I find the most interesting is how both instances of these deleted landlady lines come immediately after Elton mentions his mother, which feels like a deliberate placement to me. If this really was just a regular landlady who for whatever reason makes sandwiches like this, surely the scenes would then take place at completely random points, rather than our attention being deliberately drawn to his mother before an older female voice then happens to be heard. To me, that feels like a very conscious decision to turn Elton into, at the very least, an unreliable narrator, if not something much worse. Now, maybe I'm simply underestimating the friendliness of landladies in 2006 London.
There a key to this lock?
But it just doesn't seem right that Elton, a 33-year-old man with a normal job, would have this kind of relationship with the woman he's renting a room from. Therefore, I posit the idea that Elton might be embellishing a few details of his story.
Wait till you hear the rest. Oh boy.
After all, he repeatedly emphasises how exciting and thrilling this story is. He wants people to watch this vlog, and it's awfully convenient how everything has such a perfect sense of narrative momentum. This is a real event in universe, but it plays out just like a storyline, hitting all these beats in a way that manages to keep the viewer interested, invested, and engaged. It even has a happy ending as the love interest is saved from the verge of death.
Such a spade!
Although, obviously, that takes the form of a paving slab, which is obviously beyond questionable. But my point stands, it's just so convenient that Elton even has a sympathetic connection to the Doctor that comes to light right during the climax of the narrative. An emotional backstory to tug at your heartstrings and bring everything home with a rousing moment. I feel like Elton is an unreliable narrator, telling us a story that is broadly true, but with a significant amount of creative embellishments to make the story more interesting.
I just put that bit at the beginning because it's a brilliant opening.
Are you telling me that Elton just happened to be the sole survivor and meet the Doctor 3 times in his life, even having Ursula saved to become his girlfriend? No, he orchestrated it. It's chicanery. And if you got that reference, hit the like and subscribe to make Huel over here happy. In fact, according to the BBC's own website commentary track for the episode, writer Russell T Davies actually suggests that Elton's memory might not be entirely reliable, outright implying this unreliable narrator premise was intentional, events not happening the way Elton remembers them.
He remembers them singing perfectly.
He remembers them better than they
Yes.
were. Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the timing of the landlady scenes were so purposeful, because it seems to emphasise that idea of him being an unreliable narrator. It's like it was an entire scrapped undercurrent of the episode. Of course, the Doctor's explanation of Elton's mother being killed by an elemental shade from the Howling Halls is very much presented as fact by the episode. But as the entire episode is framed as purely Elton recounting the story in his vlog, there's still no obligation to take it as complete and objective fact. Is it a weaker theory than simply him being unreliable? Sure, but it's still entirely possible. After all, just look at more recent events. The 2025 episode Lucky Day is very much a spiritual successor of sorts to Love and Monsters. It focuses less on the Doctor himself and more on regular life on Earth, as the character Conrad Clark seeks to find this mysterious figure he encountered as a child. However, Lucky Day is different in the sense that Conrad Clark is simultaneously Elton Pope and Victor Kennedy, using his innocent, sympathetic facade to draw Ruby Sunday into a darker scheme. There's even a specific call out of him lying about his mother being dead.
His mother's not dead.
As a way to manipulate Ruby and gain her sympathy. In this sense, it's very easy to see Elton as a proto-Conrad of sorts, embellishing his story for sympathy and lying about personal tragedy for connection and belonging. We never know why Elton is making this video, or who it's even for. All we ever know is what he himself tells us, and Conrad is the much more villainous endpoint of such a character. And potentially Conrad's unreliable narration of his dead mother is what Davies envisioned for Elton all those years earlier. The parallels are just really fascinating to me, whether they're intentional or not. Obviously, I feel like it's very unlikely that Elton was meant to be some sort of secretly questionable character. Davies very intentionally wanted him to be a normal and regular guy rather than a geeky nerd, and the episode as it aired never really gives us much reason to doubt Elton's motives or nature as a relatable and sympathetic protagonist. But I love the thematic implications that come with the idea of him lying or being deceitful about his story and his encounters with the Doctor. It feeds back into the overall exploration of fandom and communities that form around pieces of media. Elton and his friends are obviously meant to represent the positive side of finding friends and forming relationships through these kinds of means, like how we've all surely made friends with other Doctor Who fans regardless of who we are and where we come from. Linda as a group is meant to show this sense of community, whilst Victor Kennedy is the personification of toxic control and obsession. People who want to have power within a niche and turn it from a fun community into a dictatorship of sorts where they're the most powerful person. But when you read Elton as an unreliable narrator, it opens up the exploration to a third kind of person within fandoms. The type of person who wants or needs to feel special and important. They enjoy the community, but they want more attention and they want to feel like even more of a fan. So they embellish stories, they act out, they manipulate the community, whether out of malice or a lack of self-awareness. Elton making himself the hero of his story, complete with a tragic backstory and getting the girl, feels so much like these kinds of figures within fandoms that have deep-rooted insecurities about being accepted or fitting in. And the idea of Elton's supposed landlady being his very much alive mother is a prime example of that. Being a random person who gets lucky enough to meet the Doctor isn't good enough. Elton's story and need to feel special requires that extra layer of sympathy and tragedy. So he just adds these little embellishments, and I find that idea so fascinating as a further exploration of the highs and lows of fandom and the different types of people it attracts. How it's a wide spectrum and not just good people and bad people. It's all sorts, and they all have different reasons for doing what they're doing. As I mentioned at the beginning, Love and Monsters is an episode I will always aim to bat for whenever possible. Is the Absorbalorth a comically cringe villain that feels out of place even in Doctor Who? Sure. Are there awkward scenes throughout? Absolutely. Is the paving slab ending beyond awful and problematic? No question about it. But does the episode have a lot of heart and experiment with how Doctor Who episodes can be? Yes, and I respect and love it for that. It's a genuinely interesting episode with so much charm, intentionally or otherwise. But I really do find it extra fascinating viewing it with those deleted scenes in mind. Scenes that change how we see Elton as a protagonist and make us question his motivations, his retelling of events, and who he actually is. The entire episode is told from his perspective, and with Davis himself admitting he's an unreliable narrator, it means the whole episode can now be doubted for whatever reason. And with the more modern introduction of Conrad Clark as a dark Elton of sorts, we can now see Elton Pope in an entirely different light and a new headcanon. Not as a charming, bumbling and relatable young man who happens to have a tragic life, but a liar willing to manipulate others and embellish or invent tragedy for sympathy and acceptance amongst others. But if you take anything away from this video today, ask your landlord or landlady why they never make you any sandwiches. Since if that was there without playing into the idea of Elton lying or twisting his story, then why the hell did he have a random landlady making him sandwiches in the original version of the episode? So let me know what sandwiches you would want from Elton's landlady. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. And I'd just like to thank my Asbantium level patron, Fallon Cortez, my Diamond level patron, Valtar, and all my Gold level patrons, Chris Douglas, Daniel Shillito, and James Aleula Waterhouse. Thank you for supporting the channel.